Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Arc Synergy. Make sure you stick around. Today we're going to go over another state licensure information. So in those videos, you'll get all the information that you need. Your speech language pathology license in any state in the US. So feel free to check out our library of videos. Episodes we go over each specific state licensure separately so they're easy to find and go through. And without any further ado, let's go into today's episode. This is the last week for North Carolina licensure information. If you've missed our full licensure deep dive and provisional licensure deep dive, make sure to check out those videos for last week and the week prior to last week, where we went in depth into all of the information that you would ever need to apply for a license in North Carolina. And this week, we're going to cover the renewal process for North Carolina. So North Carolina is one of the few states with annual SLP license renewal rather than biannual. So that means the renewal deadline comes around every year. The CEU requirement is 30 hours per cycle, and it has to be all clinically related hours. If you miss the 30-day grace period and any services you bill during the last has to be refunded, of course. If the license goes more than a year without being renewed, so it lasts for more than a year, you need to go to the reinstatement process and the requirements get more involved, but we're going to cover all of that today. So like I mentioned, the North Carolina SLP license renews annually on the license issue date. So it is not a fixed calendar date like most states. So your renewal deadline is tied to when your license was originally issued, which means it is different for every licensee. So log into your application portal account to confirm your specific license expiration date. Renewal is processed to the North Carolina online system. North Carolina no longer mail physical licenses. Your digital license is accessible through your account after your renewal application is approved. So let's go over the fees. The annual renewal fee is $60. After the grace period expires, the fee jumps to $80. So that is the renewal license fee plus a delinquent fee of $20. So $80 in total. There is a military exemption, so active duty service members and spouses are exempt from renewal fees with PCS order or LES documentation. So let's talk about the 30-day grace period that I mentioned. So North Carolina provided 30-day grace period after the license expiration date. During that period, you can still renew, but with a delinquent fee added. However, there is an important thing that I must mention in that for North Carolina specifically, which I mentioned a bit earlier, any services that you have billed during the grace period while your license was expired, you need to refund or you need to refund those services that were billed, like the payment for those services. So that is something to keep in mind. If you have accumulated 2 or more delinquency within a 5-year period, you will no longer be able to renew your license automatically. So your renewal at that point will have to go before the board for approval before it can be processed. So this is an escalation that you have to keep in mind in case you've missed 2 renewal deadlines. So now let's talk about the CEUs. North Carolina requires 30 continuing education hours per annual cycle. All 30 hours must be clinically related to your scope of practice. There is no allowance for non-clinical professional development hours. So all continuing education are accepted from ASHA, AAA, North Carolina DPI, or board approved sponsors, online continuing education is accepted without any restrictions. College courses may count if an official transcript is sent directly to the board. Ambiguous CE hours may be sent to the board for review before you are able to count them. Retain all continuing education record for 5 years. That is the window for audits for North Carolina. One useful thing with North Carolina is that your CEU cycle can be synced with your ASHA CEU cycle by making a one-time request to the board. So if you are maintaining your ASHA Cs and tracking those hours anyway, syncing the cycle will reduce any duplication in record keeping. So that is something really nice. I hope that today's episode have been really enjoyable for you so far. Please take the time to leave us a review, to leave us a comment, and to like today's episode. It will really help us develop those videos and put them out faster. And if you have the time, feel free to check out the Arc Synergy app on both iOS and Android. The app is free and there is a free clinician plan, so you don't have to worry about doing any subscription to get started in the app. And let me know what you think. Now let's get back into the episode. Now let's talk about if your license has expired. So North Carolina reinstatement structure depends on how long the license has been expired and whether it has lapsed within the past year or longer. So if your license has lapsed for less than a year, you have a 30-day grace period, right? If you can renew within that 30-day grace period with a delinquent fee and no additional requirement. Now, after 30 days, but still within a year, you have to complete the renewal form, pay the renewal fee plus the delinquent fee, and submit a statement of services. If your license has been expired for more than 90 days, you need to also include proof of 30 continuing education hours. No exams are required at that point within less than a year. Now, if your license has been expired for more than a year, right, you'll need to go through the portal. You need to complete the reciprocal application and the open book quiz. You need to submit 30 CE hours. If your license has been expired for less than 3 years, you need to submit official transcripts showing your graduate degree if your license has been expired for more than 5 years. You need to provide an official letter of verification for your most recently active license in another state. Your application will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis at the next monthly board meeting. Now, North Carolina allows licensees to voluntarily move their license to expired status by request via email or by mail. Expired status is not a disciplinary designation. It simply means that the license is not active, so inactive status, to make it simpler. So if that will be tracked separately from any disciplinary action. So this is something useful that you can do if you're planning on leaving the state for a period of time and want to formally close that license rather than letting it lapse passively. If you have any question about the renewal or reinstatement question, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or you can also find the phone number and email address of the boards in the Arc Synergy app that are updated constantly and kept up to date. And yeah, now let's go over a quick recap before we close out this episode and North Carolina licensure procedure in general. So North Carolina renewal is an annual renewal cycle tied to your issue date. There are 30 clinically related CEU hours required, and a grace period with a billing reimbursement obligation is tied to your renewal. And they have a tiered reinstatement process. The 30 hours has to be all clinically related hours, and you need to make sure you know your expiration date and set a reminder well in advance to not let your license lapse. But if it does lapse, again, they do have the tiered process that you can go through pretty painlessly. And that's all for North Carolina. We'll see you next week for another state licensure information overview. Thanks for watching.